Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Jenkins. I'm the Business Development Director here at ICF Colorado, and I'm here with Andrea Bordenca from the Institute for Generative Leadership. As many of you know, IGL is a key strategic partner for our chapter, and we're delighted to welcome Andrea to lead a webinar on Monday, August 3rd, on breaking the habit of overwhelm, moving from activity to results. Andrea, welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here, and I'm so excited for you to share the generative leadership work with our chapter. And I'd love to just know what brought you personally to this work of generative leadership?
Yes, actually, what brought me was this topic around overwhelm. I didn't recognize it at the time, but I was in complete overwhelm. So 20 years ago, I found the Institute for Generative Leadership. My sister was actually doing some research on emotional intelligence and happened upon the Institute and suggested, because at the time I was in my mid-20s, I was in a supervisory role, very committed to professional development, and she suggested I check it out. So I went there for a weekend, the Foundations of Generative Leadership workshop. And what I found was what we're going to be talking about at the webinar next week is the anatomy of overwhelm. How we refer to it at the Institute is the anatomy of action. And this is the foundation of what IGL is all about. And what the anatomy of action reveals is that all results we get in life, good, bad, clear, unclear, are all shaped by the conversations that we're in. Now, that within itself, it makes a lot of good sense. It sounds like, okay, yeah, I can get behind that. But what's missing oftentimes with leaders is something that even comes before the conversations, and that's the care. What is it that people really deeply care about? So as a new supervisor coming into this workshop 20 years ago and being in a room full of leaders and some coaches, I never was asked the question of what matters to you. I was raised in America where there's very clear cultural conditioning around what wealth is, what success is, and the interpretation and definition of success is you have to work really, really hard to make a lot of money. And so what happens is we get in the habit of being really busy. And we equate our contribution to activity versus meaningful results. So what I love about this work is, well, many things, but for me, the primary thing was I had experienced severe depression, anxiety. I had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I had addiction issues. And although the Institute for Generative Leadership isn't an organization that is focused on mental health or emotional health, it's focused on embodiment and practice. So by getting really clear on what people care about and learning how to have the conversations around how do we bring this to organizations? How do we bring this to our coaching clients? How do we bring this to our families, ourselves? Getting really clear on the care. And then there's a structure of conversations that can be practiced and replicated so it actually gets in the neural network. So right now, I'm not on any meds. I decided that drinking alcohol was not for me, so I gave that up years ago. And it's because of the practice of leadership, embodiment, and presence. I got really clear on what I cared about and how I wanted to show up. So things that used to be very activating to me, triggering for me, making eye contact, speaking slowly like this in a setting like this. I learned at the Institute that paying attention to what's going on in my body, what's going on in the emotional realm affects our stress physiology. So we do work on rewiring our nervous system based on what we care about. Our coaches and curriculum design practices specifically to show up in the world the way that we want to. So that was defined by me. I wanted to create more connection. I wanted to get rid of my being busy all the time because I felt like I wasn't good enough if I wasn't filled up on my calendar every day, that's how I proved, look at how busy I am. I was resentful. So now I work with leaders, I work with coaches on bringing these conversations to organizations, to other coaches, to other leaders. So we don't provide the how to have the conversation. What we do at the Institute is we provide what are the conversations to have. We trust that the coaches who are in our program are able to have the coaching conversations. We're just bringing the structure of bringing the emotional realm, having the conversation about the conversation in, so organizations and teams are working more effectively together. So for me, as someone coming into this program as a new supervisor, I'm now the CEO of that organization. It's called DESCO, as well as the CEO of IGL US, because I brought this work there. So I made this offer a year ago today, actually, at the time of our interview.
Oh, wow.
The day that I became the CEO of IGL US, the 27th of July. And I made this offer to our founder because of the transformation of my organization and my family. And I'm committed to bringing this to more organizations and to schools, because it's all about building awareness and choice, moving from activity to commitment-based results, and really generating results that matter.
Mm. Wow. I mean, that's so powerful. And I can't imagine the transformation that has taken place in your life. So for our members that are attending the webinar next Monday, what can they expect?
There might be a little bit of discomfort. So a lot of what we do is when we're paying attention to, there's this space between what we say we're committed to and then the actions in our body. So an example being, I might say, like I said in the beginning, I'm committed to being a more present mom, as an example. Mm-hmm. But what would show up in the beginning was my actions were habituated in being a professional executive. So when my kids would come around when I was working, I would be in the habit of doing my work, and then I would pay attention to what was showing up for me. And when they would come around, my initial reaction was, what are you doing? Can't you see I'm busy? I'm focusing on my work. To, oh, wait, okay, there's a new disorganized way here that I want to show up. I am committed to creating safety for my kids. So instead of being inaccessible, I'd be, if I was working at the kitchen table, then the kids were coming to me, I would pay attention to what was showing up and feel the discomfort and wanting to focus on what I was doing. But the action that I wanted to embody was being present with them and being in that relationship. So what are we being present to in the moment? We're going to be experiencing that. So I'm going to have a few exercises for us to be in the question together. There's going to be certain questions that I'll ask, and then to notice what's showing up in your body in that space of commitment to action, so people can start to observe what is showing up, what they're conditioned to do versus what it is that they're intending to do. So if we don't have the habit yet, I'm going to provide the ways to intervene in that, to create that space to rewire, so we can take this to our coaching clients through this work and this practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's always so challenging, isn't it? Trying to create those new habits, and the discomfort as you're moving through that process. I understand that. So finally, Andrea, what can our members expect to take away from this webinar?
New ways of engaging. So one of the biggest takeaways after this webinar is that there's going to be a practice that people can actually take and replicate, because we're going to be doing it together, and then taking it out into their families, into their work, in with their coaching clients, to notice what's showing up with them, and then to be able to have this space to intervene. Excuse me, to have this space to intervene. To have this space.
Okay?
Yeah, fine. I needed a little sip of my water. Yes.
Fantastic. So is there anything else that you want people to know before Monday?
So generative leadership and learning is all about creating actionable and observable results. So everything that we do is is to create a new way of embodiment. So we hold that generative leadership is a performance art. It's a full body contact sport, is how we like to describe it, because it happens in our nervous system. And through this webinar, the nervous system is going to have the opportunity to practice. And the beautiful thing about that is that the nervous system doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So we're going to be simulating certain experiences in this webinar together that are going to create those neural networks for the embodiment to happen. So it takes a certain amount of iteration, 300 recurrences, for something to become familiar in the body. Think about driving a car, riding a bike. And so this will be the first couple of iterations. We're going to do that together. So then people have it in their body and they can take it out to practice to get that recurrence. So we're going to have a supportive space to be able to practice together.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, it sounds amazing, Andrea. So thank you so much for your time today and for sharing details of the webinar. For those of you interested, Breaking the Habit of Overwhelm, Moving from Activity to Results, will be on Monday, August 3rd from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Time. You can find all the details and the link to register on our website and through Basecamp. Thanks again, Andrea. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to Monday.
Looking forward to seeing you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Andrea.